Welcome to your deep dive. We're diving into the world of body language secrets with this book.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we're focusing on how to read those nonverbal cues, especially when it comes to courtship and dating, figuring out if that special someone is actually interested or just playing games.
Sounds juicy.
Right. It seems like everyone's trying to decode those secret signals.
Well, who wouldn't want to know what people are really thinking?
Exactly. And this author seems to think he has all the answers.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah, he puts a ton of emphasis on first impressions, like those first few seconds of meeting someone.
I can see why that would be important. You don't get a second chance to make a first impression, right?
Right. He actually says that people form a whopping 90% of their opinion about you in the first 90 seconds.
Wow. 90% in 90 seconds. That's a lot of pressure.
Tell me about it. That's before you even finish a sentence. What's your take on that? Have you noticed that to be true in your own life?
There's definitely something to be said for that initial gut feeling you get about someone. But 90% seems a bit high, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like we have a stopwatch running every time we meet someone new. But it does make you wonder, what is it about those first few moments that are so crucial?
Maybe it's not so much about forming a complete opinion, but more about setting the tone, creating that initial spark of interest, or, the opposite.
Yeah, like you're either intrigued or you're already looking for the exit.
Exactly. And that's where body language comes in. This book highlights how much we communicate without even realizing it.
It's true, our bodies are always talking, even when our mouths are shut.
And this author claims that body language is 5 times more impactful than words. 5 times.
5 times. So basically, what we say barely even matters.
Well, he might go a bit far with that. But it does make you think about all the subtle cues we're sending and receiving constantly.
So instead of just accepting this 5 times idea as fact, maybe we should think about why nonverbal cues carry so much weight, especially in those first crucial moments. What are your initial thoughts on that?
Well, for one thing, body language is often unconscious. We're not always aware of what our bodies are doing. So it could be a more genuine expression of our true feelings, even if we're trying to project something else entirely.
So like a poker face for our words.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so fascinating, especially when it comes to dating. You're always trying to figure out if someone's truly interested or just putting on a good show.
It's like everyone's a suspect in a love detective story. And speaking of detectives, this author seems particularly interested in how our bodies might betray our true feelings, even if we're trying to project something else entirely. He goes into a lot of detail about how to spot those potential signs of deception, especially in the world of dating. Have you ever found yourself questioning someone's honesty based on their nonverbal cues?
Oh, absolutely. I think we've all had those moments where something just feels a little off, like their words are saying one thing, but their body's telling a different story.
Right. It's like a gut feeling you can't quite ignore.
Exactly. And that's what this author is trying to tap into. He wants to give us the tools to decode those subtle signs, particularly when it comes to romance.
Which I think is what we're all really here for, right? Cracking the code of attraction.
Absolutely. Everyone wants to know the secrets to finding love.
So how do we spot these potential liars then?
Well, the author dives into a whole list of what he calls red flags.
Okay, like what? Give us the inside scoop.
So, touching the mouth, eyes, or ears while speaking, that's one.
Interesting. Okay, so like if I'm on a date and the guy keeps touching his ear, I should be worried.
Well, he also mentions hiding palms. Like if you can't see someone's hands, that's a bad sign.
So no to handshakes, got it.
He even calls out lying feet. Like our feet are trying to make a run for it while our mouths spin tails.
Lying feet. I've never heard of that one. What does that even mean?
He says that if someone's feet are pointed towards the door, it means they're not really invested in the conversation and want to escape.
So I should be checking foot direction on a first date. That's a new one.
Well, he definitely seems to be implying that these are telltale signs of a liar.
Okay, but do you think it's really that simple? Can you really tell if someone's lying just by looking at their feet?
It's important to remember that context is key. While these signs can indicate deception, they don't automatically mean someone's lying.
True, maybe they just have a nervous twitch or something.
Exactly. There could be cultural factors at play, nervousness, even physical discomfort that could explain these behaviors.
Right, like maybe they're not lying, maybe they just really need to use the restroom.
Exactly. So instead of focusing on fidgety feet, maybe we should pay attention to micro expressions.
Micro expression.
Yeah, those fleeting facial movements that can reveal a lot about someone's emotional state. They happen so fast, most people don't even notice them, but they can be very telling.
So like a quick flash of anger or disgust that might betray someone's true feelings.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But how do we even learn to spot those? It sounds like you need to be a human lie detector.
Well, it takes practice. But once you start paying attention, you'd be surprised what you pick up on. It can be a fun little game to play, trying to decipher those hidden signals.
Okay, so maybe ditch the foot analysis and brush up on those microexpressions instead. Good to know. But let's say we've moved beyond those initial awkward moments and we're actually interested in someone. What then? I mean, how do we signal that interest without coming on too strong?
Well, that's where the author's subtle seduction tactics come in.
Oh, this should be good.
Lay it on us. He seems to be a big proponent of women using touch.
Touch, you mean like get all handsy on a first date?
Not exactly. He's talking about more subtle touches. Brushing the hand, accidentally bumping into the guy, that kind of thing.
So basically just be super clumsy and hope for the best. I'm not sure I'm coordinated enough for that.
Well, it's about creating those little moments of physical connection. But you were right, it could easily come across as awkward or intrusive if it's not done right.
Yeah, nothing kills the mood like an accidental elbow to the ribs.
Yeah.
So what about the guys? What are they supposed to do?
He's all about men mastering what he calls the right attitude.
Okay, and what does the right attitude entail?
Basically a blend of confidence and aloofness.
Confidence and aloofness. Sounds a bit like a recipe for disaster.
His thinking is that you don't want to seem too eager or desperate.
Ah, the classic play it cool approach.
Exactly. Don't be too available. Don't shower her with compliments right off the bat.
So no more gushing about how much you love someone's shoes.
He actually uses the word commode as a memory trick.
Commode, as in...
As in, being too accommodating will flush your chances down the... Well, you get the picture.
Okay, that's a visual I won't soon forget. So basically, play it cool, be a little mysterious, and don't be too nice. Got it. But isn't that a bit of a slippery slope? I mean, where do you draw the line between playing it cool and just being a jerk? So it's all about finding that sweet spot, right? Being confident but not cocky, mysterious but not a complete enigma. It sounds like a delicate dance.
Exactly. It's about being genuine, first and foremost. People can spot a phony a mile away.
That's true. No one likes feeling like they're being manipulated or like they're just a pawn in someone else's game.
Exactly. And that's what I appreciate about this book. Even though some of the advice is a bit out there, it's really trying to get at the heart of what makes people tick, what drives our desires and motivations, especially when it comes to romance.
So it's like a crash course in the psychology of attraction, with a few cheesy pickup lines thrown in for good measure.
You could say that,
Yeah.
but even if you don't agree with all of his tactics, it's still fascinating to think about the underlying principles he's addressing.
Like the whole nature versus nurture debate. Is it our biology driving our choices, or is it our upbringing, our experiences, the culture we live in?
Right. And this author definitely leans heavily on a biological side, with his emphasis on evolutionary psychology. Like his argument that women are hardwired to seek out partners who can provide security and resources. He says it's a throwback to our hunter-gatherer days, when survival depended on having a strong partner who could provide for the family.
Oh, so now we're blaming our dating woes on our cave-dwelling ancestors. That's a new one. But seriously, what do you think about that whole evolutionary psychology angle?
Well, it's a perspective, and it offers some interesting food for thought, but I wouldn't say it's the be-all and end-all.
So you're saying we're not just slaves to our primal instincts.
Exactly. We're complex beings, shaped by a multitude of factors. Yes, our biology plays a role, but it's not the only thing dictating our choices.
Thank goodness for that. I'd hate to think my love life is predetermined by some ancient genetic code.
Yeah.
But it does make you wonder, what else is at play here? If it's not all about survival of the fittest, then what is it that draws us to certain people?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And unfortunately, this book doesn't have all the answers.
Well, to be fair, I don't think there is one definitive answer. If love were that simple, we'd have it all figured out by now, right? But I do think this deep dive has given us a lot to think about.
Definitely. And even if we don't agree with everything this author suggests, it's still valuable to be aware of these subtle cues and signals, both the ones we're sending and the ones we're picking up on from others.
Right. It's like having a secret decoder ring for human behavior.
Exactly. And the more we understand about those nonverbal cues, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the complexities of human interaction, whether it's in our romantic relationships, our professional lives, or just our day-to-day interactions with the world around us.
Well said. It seems like we've reached the end of another deep dive, and, as always, we've only just scratched the surface. It's been fascinating unpacking these body language secrets with you. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap up?
Pay attention, be present, and never underestimate the power of a genuine smile.
Excellent advice. To our listeners, keep exploring, keep observing, and remember, sometimes the most powerful signals are the ones we send without even saying a word. Until next time, happy decoding.